You don't build a strong relationship by accident. You build it by intention, by discipline, and by a commitment that goes deeper than your feelings. Because feelings change, emotions rise and fall, but real love is a decision you make every single day, especially on the days when it's hardest to make it. If you're only together when it feels good, then what you have is convenience, not covenant. A. And the moment pressure comes, and it will come, you'll start looking for an exit instead of a solution. You've got to understand that love is not just about what you feel, it's about what you're willing to fight for. Too many young couples quit in the middle of the battle because they were never prepared for the war. You thought love would be easy. That understanding would come naturally. That connection would always flow. But real relationships require work. They require patience when you're frustrated, silence when you're angry, and grace when the other person doesn't deserve it. The problem is, many of you are trying to win arguments. Instead of winning each other, you're trying to prove a point instead of protecting the bond. But every time you choose your ego over your partner, you create distance. Every time you speak out of anger instead of wisdom, you plant seeds of resentment. And over time, those seeds grow into walls that are hard to tear down. If you want to save your love, you've got to stop treating each other like opponents and start operating like a team. A relationship cannot survive if both people are committed to being right instead of being righteous in how they treat each other. Because being right might win you the moment, but it will cost you the connection. Sometimes saving your relationship means swallowing your pride, stepping back and asking yourself, is what I'm about to say going to heal or hurt? Because words don't disappear once they're spoken. They echo, they linger, and they shape the way your partner sees you. You've also got to learn how to communicate beyond your emotions. Silence can be just as destructive as shouting if it becomes your default response. Ignoring problems doesn't make them go away. It buries them alive. And buried problems don't stay buried forever. They resurface in the form of bitterness, coldness, and disconnection. If you want your love to last, A, you have to create a safe space where both of you can speak honestly without fear of being attacked or dismissed. And let me tell you something. Every relationship will face moments where walking away feels easier than staying. There will be misunderstandings, disappointments, and seasons where you feel distant. But the strength of your relationship is not measured by how perfect it looks in good times. It's revealed by how committed you remain in hard times. Anybody can stay when it's easy. It takes maturity, character, and purpose to stay when it's difficult. You cannot control your partner, but you are fully responsible for how you show up in the relationship. Stop waiting for them to change before you decide to grow. Stop saying, I'll do better when they do better. That mindset will keep you both stuck. Instead, take ownership of your actions, your attitude, and your responses. Because when one person begins to grow, it creates an environment that challenges the other to rise as well. Trust is another foundation you cannot afford to neglect. Once it's broken, it doesn't come back overnight. It takes consistency, honesty, and time. You can't say one thing and do another and expect your relationship to stay strong. Integrity matters. Being dependable matters because love without trust is unstable. It's like trying to build a house on sand. The moment a storm comes, everything begins to collapse. And don't underestimate the power of small things. It's not always the big gestures that sustain love. It's the daily choices. The way you speak, the way you listen, the way you show appreciation when it's not required. Neglect in small areas leads to breakdown in big areas. when you stop valuing each other in the little moments. You slowly disconnect without even realizing it. There will also be times when you won't feel understood, times when you feel like you're giving more than you're receiving. In those moments, you have to remember why you started. You have to remind yourself that love is not a transaction. It's not about keeping score. If you're constantly counting who did more, who sacrificed more, who apologized last, you're turning your relationship into a competition instead of a commitment. Love is often misunderstood as something that simply happens to us, something we fall into and are carried by effortlessly. But the truth is, love that lasts is not something you stumble upon. It is something you choose intentionally and repeatedly. Feelings may introduce you to love, but they are not strong enough to sustain it. If your relationship is built only on emotion, then it will rise and fall with every mood. Every disagreement and every season of life. Emotions are powerful, but they are also unstable. One day you feel deeply connected, and the next day you feel distant without fully understanding why. If you rely only on how you feel in the moment, you will find yourself questioning your relationship every time things become uncomfortable. That's why a strong relationship must be rooted in something deeper than emotion. It must be grounded in a decision to remain committed regardless of how you feel in a given moment. Choosing love means showing up even when your heart doesn't feel full. It means staying patient when frustration builds, staying kind when irritation rises, and staying present when it would be easier to withdraw. This kind of love requires maturity because it asks you to act beyond your emotions and operate from your values instead. It calls you to be consistent, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's difficult. There will be days when your partner doesn't meet your expectations, or when they say the wrong thing or fail to understand you. In those moments, your feelings might push you toward anger, distance, or even giving up. But choosing love means you don't let those emotions control your actions. Instead, you pause, you reflect, and you respond in a way that protects the relationship rather than damages it. When you understand that love is a decision, you stop chasing perfection in your partner. You realize that no one will always say the right thing or behave perfectly. Instead of constantly evaluating whether your partner deserves your love, in that moment, you begin to focus on how you can contribute to the strength of the relationship. You shift from a mindset of, what am I getting? To, what am I building? Commitment becomes your anchor when emotions become unstable. It keeps you grounded during disagreements, misunderstandings, and difficult seasons. Without commitment, every challenge feels like a reason to walk away. But when you are committed, challenges become opportunities to grow, to understand each other better, and to strengthen the bond you share. Choosing love daily also means being intentional with your actions. It's not enough to say you love someone. You have to demonstrate it consistently. The way you speak, the way you listen, and the way you treat your partner in small, everyday moments all reflect your decision to love them. Love is not proven in grand gestures alone. It is revealed in daily consistency. There will be moments when the excitement fades and routine takes over. This is where many relationships begin to weaken because people mistake the absence of excitement for the absence of love. But real love goes beyond excitement. It is steady, reliable, and present even in ordinary moments. Choosing love means you don't depend on constant excitement to stay connected. When conflict arises, your decision to love is tested. It is easy to walk away or shut down when things get tough. It is easy to let pride take control and refuse to compromise. But choosing love means you prioritize understanding over being right. You choose to listen, to empathize, A, and to find solutions instead of creating more distance. Forgiveness is another essential part of choosing love. No relationship can survive without it because mistakes are inevitable. When you hold on to past hurts, you carry unnecessary weight that slowly damages the connection. But when you choose to forgive, you release that burden and create space for healing and growth. Choosing love also requires discipline. It requires you to control your reactions, your words, and your behavior, especially in difficult moments. Discipline allows you to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. It helps you maintain respect and care, even when emotions are running high. There will be seasons when you feel disconnected, when the closeness you once had seems distant. In those moments, your decision to love becomes even more important. Instead of pulling away, you lean in. Instead of giving up, you put in the effort to reconnect, because love that lasts is not the absence of distance. It is the willingness to close that distance again and again. Understanding that love is a decision also changes how you handle challenges from outside the relationship. Stress, responsibilities, and life pressures can easily affect how you treat each other. But when you are intentional about your commitment, you don't allow external problems to break your internal bond. You face those challenges together instead of letting them divide you. You also begin to value consistency over intensity. Intense emotions may feel powerful, but they are not what sustain a relationship long term. Consistency, showing up, being reliable, and maintaining respect is what builds trust and stability over time. Choosing love means you focus on being consistent, not just passionate. In the end, a strong relationship is not built on perfect moments or constant happiness. It is built on two people who wake up every day and decide, regardless of circumstances, that they will continue to love, to support, and to grow together. That decision, made daily and backed by action, is what transforms love from a temporary feeling into something lasting and unshakable. Too many relationships begin to break down the moment two people start seeing each other as opponents instead of partners. What was once a connection built on love slowly turns into a silent competition. Who is right? Who is more hurt? Who has done more? Who deserves the apology first? The focus shifts from protecting the relationship to protecting pride. And when that happens, the bond begins to weaken without either person fully realizing it. When you treat your partner like someone you need to defeat in an argument, you may win the moment, but you lose something far more valuable. Every argument becomes a battlefield instead of a bridge. And instead of solving the issue, you create emotional distance. Winning an argument feels temporary, but the damage it causes can last much longer if it leaves your partner feeling unheard or disrespected. A strong relationship requires a shift in mindset from me versus you to versus the problem. The issue is the enemy, not your partner. When you both learn to stand on the same side and face challenges together, everything changes. Instead of attacking each other, you begin to attack the problem with understanding, patience, and teamwork. Ego is one of the biggest obstacles to unity. It convinces you that admitting you're wrong makes you weak, that apologizing means losing, and that standing your ground is more important than preserving the relationship. But in reality, ego builds walls while humility builds bridges. The stronger your ego, the harder it becomes to truly connect. Choosing unity over ego requires intentional effort. It means learning how to pause before reacting, especially when emotions are high. Instead of immediately defending yourself or counterattacking, you take a moment to understand your partner's perspective. This doesn't mean you always agree, but it shows that you value the relationship more than your need to be right. Communication plays a central role in whether a relationship thrives or struggles. It is the lifeline that keeps two people connected, especially during difficult times. Without clear and honest communication, misunderstandings grow, assumptions take over, and small issues turn into major conflicts. What could have been resolved with a conversation becomes a source of ongoing tension. Many couples struggle not because they lack love, but because they lack effective communication. They either avoid difficult conversations altogether or approach them with anger and defensiveness. Silence may seem like peace, but it often hides unresolved issues that slowly build up beneath the surface. Healthy communication is not just about speaking, it's also about listening. True listening means giving your partner your full attention without interrupting, without planning your response, and without dismissing their feelings. It requires empathy, the ability to step into their perspective and genuinely try to understand what they are experiencing. The way you communicate matters just as much as what you communicate. Words spoken in anger can cut deeply, even if you don't mean them in the long run. Tone, timing, and choice of words all influence how your message is received. Speaking with respect, even during disagreements, helps maintain a sense of safety and trust in the relationship. Avoiding communication can be just as damaging as arguing constantly. When problems are ignored, they don't disappear, they grow. Unspoken frustrations turn into resentment, and over time, that resentment creates emotional distance. What started as a small issue can become a major disconnect simply because it was never addressed. Strong couples create an environment where communication feels safe. They make it clear that both voices matter, that both perspectives are valid, and that disagreements are an opportunity for growth rather than a threat to the relationship. This kind of environment encourages openness and honesty. There will be moments when communication feels difficult, especially when emotions are intense. In those moments, it's important to slow down rather than shut down. Taking a break to calm your thoughts is healthy, but completely withdrawing or refusing to engage only deepens the problem. The goal is to come back and resolve, not to escape. When you combine teamwork with strong communication, your relationship becomes more resilient. Challenges no longer feel like threats that can break you apart. Instead, they be God's conspirations you can navigate together. You begin to trust that no matter what arises, you have the tools to face it as a unit. Consistency in communication is key. It's not enough to talk only when problems arise. You need to stay connected even in good times. Regular, honest conversations help maintain understanding and prevent issues from building up. They keep the relationship alive and aligned. At its core, a healthy relationship is built on partnership and connection. When you stop competing and start teaming, and when you treat communication as a lifeline rather than an afterthought, you create a foundation that can withstand pressure, conflict, and change. Instead of growing apart during challenges, you grow closer, stronger, and more united. Communication is the foundation that holds a relationship together when everything else feels uncertain. It is the bridge between two hearts, the pathway through which understanding flows. Without it, even the strongest feelings begin to fade, not because love disappears, but because it is no longer being expressed, nurtured, or understood. When communication weakens, confusion grows. And when confusion grows, a distance follows. Silence can feel peaceful on the surface, but when it replaces honest conversation, it becomes dangerous. Unspoken thoughts don't disappear. They build up over time. What you refuse to say today will eventually show up in your attitude tomorrow. Silence creates gaps, and in those gaps, assumptions begin to form. And assumptions are often far more damaging than the truth. Anger is another force that can disrupt communication if it is not controlled. When emotions rise, words often lose their wisdom. You begin to speak to win, to hurt, or to defend instead of speaking to understand. In those moments, communication stops being constructive and becomes destructive. What should have been a solution turns into deeper conflict. Avoidance might seem like an easy escape from discomfort, but it only delays the inevitable. Problems ignored do not solve themselves, they grow. Each avoided conversation adds another layer of unresolved tension. Over time, this creates emotional distance that becomes harder to close. Avoidance doesn't protect the relationship, it slowly weakens it from within. Honest communication requires courage. It means being willing to express what you truly feel, even when it's uncomfortable. It means speaking your truth without fear of rejection or misunderstanding. But honesty must be balanced with respect. Being truthful does not give you the right to be harsh. It calls you to be clear and kind at the same time. Respectful communication creates emotional safety. When your partner knows they can speak without being judged, attacked, or dismissed, they begin to open up more freely. This openness strengthens the bond between you because it builds trust. And trust is not built through perfection. It is built through consistent, respectful interaction. Listening is just as important as speaking. Many people hear words, but they don't truly listen. Real listening requires patience and presence. It means focusing not only on what is being said, but also on what is being felt. When you listen with empathy, you create space for deeper understanding, and that understanding strengthens your connection. Miscommunication often happens not because people don't care, but because they don't take the time to fully understand each other. Quick reactions, interruptions, and assumptions block clarity. When you slow down and allow each other to fully express thoughts and emotions, you reduce misunderstandings and build stronger alignment. Consistency in communication is what keeps a relationship alive. It's not just about talking during conflicts, it's about staying connected daily. Small conversations, check-ins, and expression of appreciation keep the relationship grounded. When communication becomes a regular part of your connection, it prevents issues from piling up. Growth in a relationship begins with personal responsibility. It's easy to point out what your partner is doing wrong, but real progress starts when you examine yourself. Instead of focusing on their flaws, you begin to ask how you can improve your own behavior, your reactions, and your mindset. Waiting for your partner to change before you make an effort keeps the relationship stuck. Growth requires initiative. When you take responsibility for your own actions, you set an example. You create a shift in the dynamic that often encourages your partner to reflect and grow as well. Self-awareness is a key part of growth. Understanding your triggers, your habits, and your communication patterns allows you to respond more effectively. Instead of reacting impulsively, you begin to act with intention. This level of awareness improves not only how you communicate, but also how you connect. Growth also means being willing to unlearn unhealthy patterns. The way you communicate today is often shaped by past experiences, but not all of those patterns are helpful. Recognizing what needs to change and actively working on it allows you to build a healthier and stronger relationship. As you grow individually, the relationship begins to evolve as well. Two people who are committed to self-improvement create a dynamic that is constantly moving forward. Instead of remaining stuck in the same cycles, you begin to break them and replace them with healthier habits. When communication is honest and respectful, and when both individuals take responsibility for their own growth, the relationship becomes a place of strength rather than stress. It becomes a space where both people feel heard, valued, and supported. allowing love not only to survive, but to deepen over time. Growth in a relationship does not begin with pointing fingers. It begins with looking in the mirror. It's easy to identify what your partner is doing wrong, to list their flaws, and to believe that everything would improve if only they changed. But real transformation starts when you shift your focus inward and take responsibility for your own behavior, your own mindset, and your own actions. Waiting for your partner to change first creates a cycle of stagnation. Both individuals remain stuck, expecting the other to make the first move. This silent standoff prevents progress and slowly weakens the relationship. When no one is willing to step forward, nothing moves forward. Growth requires someone to break that cycle, and that someone has to be you. Taking responsibility means acknowledging your role in the relationship, both the good and the bad. It means recognizing that your reactions, your words, and your choices all contribute to the dynamic between you and your partner. When you own your part, you gain the power to change it. And that power is where real growth begins. Your mindset plays a critical role in how you approach your relationship. If you constantly think in terms of blame, frustration, or dissatisfaction, those thoughts will shape your actions. But when you choose a mindset of growth, understanding, and patience, your behavior begins to reflect that. Changing how you think can transform how you act and ultimately how you connect. Personal growth requires honesty with yourself. It's not always comfortable to admit where you've been wrong or where you need to improve, but it is necessary. Growth does not happen in denial. It happens in awareness. When you become aware of your habits and patterns, you create an opportunity to change them. As you begin to grow, your actions start to shift. You become more patient, more thoughtful, and more intentional in how you treat your partner. You respond instead of reacting. You listen instead of interrupting. These changes may seem small at first, but they create a noticeable difference in the relationship over time. Your growth has the power to influence your partner, even without direct pressure. When one person begins to change in a positive way, it often encourages the other to reflect on their own behavior. Growth is contagious. Your commitment to improvement can inspire a similar commitment in your partner, creating a healthier dynamic for both of you. It's important to understand that growth is a continuous process, not a one-time decision. There will be moments where you fall back into old habits, where frustration takes over, or where progress feels slow. But consistency is what matters. Every effort you make to improve yourself contributes to the long-term strength of the relationship. At the same time, love is not sustained by growth alone. It is maintained through daily actions. Big promises and deep conversations are important, but it is the small, consistent efforts that truly keep a relationship alive. These small actions may seem insignificant in the moment, but they carry great weight over time. The way you greet your partner, the tone you use when you speak, the attention you give when they are talking. These are all small actions that communicate love and respect. They may not seem dramatic, but they shape the emotional environment of the relationship. Over time, these moments build either connection or distance. Neglecting small actions can slowly weaken even the strongest bond. When appreciation is no longer expressed, when kindness becomes rare, and when effort begins to fade, the relationship starts to feel empty. It's not always a major conflict that causes a breakdown. Often, it's the absence of small, meaningful gestures. Consistency in small actions creates a sense of stability and security. When your partner knows they can rely on your kindness, your respect, and your attention, it builds trust. This trust becomes the foundation that supports the relationship during difficult times. It reassures both of you that the connection is still strong. Small actions also show intentionality. They demonstrate that you are not taking the relationship for granted. Whether it's a kind word, a simple check in or a moment of genuine attention, these actions communicate that your partner matters. They reinforce the decision to love, not just in words, but in behavior. When growth and small actions come together, they create a powerful combination. Personal improvement strengthens who you are, while consistent actions strengthen the connection you share. Together, they build a relationship that is not only stable, but also continuously evolving in a positive direction. A strong relationship is not built overnight. It is shaped through daily choices, personal responsibility, and consistent effort. When you focus on your own growth and commit to showing love through small, meaningful actions, you create an environment where love can thrive, deepen, and endure through every season. Love is rarely lost in one dramatic moment. More often, it fades quietly through neglect of the small things that once held it together. Relationships don't usually break because of one big mistake. They weaken because of 100 little moments where effort, care, and attention were missing. It's in those unnoticed gaps that distance begins to grow. The truth is, big love is sustained by small actions. It's not the occasional grand gesture that keeps a relationship strong, but the daily habits that show appreciation and consistency. The way you greet your partner, the way you respond to their words, the way you make them feel in ordinary moments. These are the building blocks of lasting love. Respect is one of the simplest yet most powerful actions you can give. It shows up in your tone, your patience, and the way you handle disagreements. Even in moments of frustration, maintaining respect communicates that the relationship still matters. Once respect starts to fade, everything else begins to follow. Appreciation is another small act that carries great weight. When you stop acknowledging what your partner does, you create an environment where effort feels unnoticed. People naturally drift away from places where they feel unvalued. A simple thank you or a genuine acknowledgement can strengthen the bond more than you realize. Consistency is what turns small actions into something meaningful. Anyone can be kind once in a while, but a strong relationship is built on reliable behavior. When your partner knows they can count on your kindness, your attention, and your effort, it creates a sense of stability that keeps the relationship grounded. Neglect doesn't happen all at once. It happens gradually. You stop saying the little things, stop doing the small gestures, and slowly the connection begins to weaken. What once felt natural starts to feel distant. And often, by the time you notice the change, the damage has already begun. A small action are also what create emotional safety. When your partner feels consistently respected and appreciated, they feel secure in the relationship. This security allows them to open up, to be vulnerable, and to connect more deeply. Without it, walls begin to form and communication starts to break down. The danger of ignoring small efforts is that it creates silent dissatisfaction. Your partner may not always express it, but they feel the difference. They notice when effort decreases, when attention fades, and when the relationship begins to feel one-sided. These unspoken feelings can eventually turn into frustration and resentment. Love thrives in the details. It lives in the everyday moments that are easy to overlook. The check-ins, the small compliments, the quiet support. These moments may not seem significant individually, but together they form the foundation of the relationship. Without them, that foundation begins to crack. In busy lives, it's easy to assume that love will take care of itself. But love requires maintenance. Just like anything valuable, it needs attention and effort. Ignoring it doesn't keep it stable. it weakens it. Small actions are the maintenance that keeps the relationship healthy and strong. When you consistently show up in small ways, you send a powerful message. You matter to me. This message doesn't need to be loud or dramatic. In fact, its strength comes from its quiet consistency. Over time, it builds trust, strengthens connection, and deepens emotional intimacy. On the other hand, inconsistency creates confusion. One day there is effort, the next day there is distance. This unpredictability makes it difficult for your partner to feel secure. Stability in small actions removes that confusion and replaces it with clarity and confidence in the relationship. Small action also prevent problems from becoming bigger issues. When you regularly communicate, show appreciation, and maintain respect, you address potential concerns before they grow. This proactive approach keeps the relationship from reaching a breaking point. It's important to remember that small actions are a choice. They don't require perfection, but they do require intention. You have to decide to be present, to be kind, and to be consistent. These choices, repeated daily, shape the direction of the relationship. In the end, the strength of a relationship is not measured by how grand the love looks on the outside, but by how consistent it is on the inside. It's the small, intentional efforts made every day that keep love alive, protect it from fading, and allow it to grow stronger over time.